time to do our summer check-in with Atlético Madrid because they've been very busy in the summer transfer window in hopes of improving on last season where they finished third in La Liga and they were knocked out of Champions League in the round of 16. There are several new players on this team, and that includes guys like Thiago Almada and Johnny Cardoso. And the list of players that left the club, that includes guys like Rodrigo de Paul and Ángel Correa. So taking a look at all the ins and outs here coming out of this club and going into the club, Nico, what grade would you give Atlético Madrid in the summer transfer window?
A, but you don't win titles with good grades in the transfer window. Yes, they did great. They actually did really, really good last season. Their transfer window, they built a very good squad. I would have given them an A last transfer season.
But that doesn't translate to trophies.
Right.
It doesn't translate to being
they had a really,
number one.
They had a really good squad, and they got even better with this transfer window. Like, no notes. Follow up.
Now let's see how the season is. So is there anyone, Master, in that list of players that have come in that make you feel a bit more hopeful than the season that we just saw?
Álex Baena. I loved him at Villarreal and a guy who can get you 17 assists as we saw in 2023. We saw him, in 2022. I think we saw him get 12 goals as well in 2023. He is their creative guy, their facilitator, especially when last season, as you mentioned, the $200 million that they're spending this year, they also had a pretty equal amount that they spent the year before, last season as well. You were expecting Julián Alvarez and Antoine Griezmann and Sorloth to give them this offensive explosion, but it felt like Griezmann took a step back, Sorloth became inconsistent, and Julián Alvarez was the one that soared and had to make up for the accounting of all the absence that they had. You bring in Álex Baena now, and now you have someone that they gave the number 10 jersey to, mind you, 24 years old. He is creative. He's going to be their facilitator. He can create chances. He can score goals himself. It gives them another option that can get other people involved while also making sure that you have someone there that's consistent in the event Griezmann does not show the same quality he did last year.
Let's be clear. This is Julián Alvarez's team.
100%.
He's leading the charge. It was his team last season. I mean, if you pay that amount of money, you know, you're nearing the $100 million mark. What was it, like 89 million, something like that, or whatever it was an extraordinary number, and he had to deliver. He delivered. I think there were a couple of components that needed to follow suit, but they've reinforced. Johnny Cardoso is going to be paired in the midfield either with Pablo Barrios, but then you have Coque. You lost De Paul, so you need that midfield to be very strong. I mean, Raspadori is going to be a role player. Like, I don't know. They lost their Italian sporting director, Andrea Berti, and they suddenly go for Ruggeri. They go for Raspadori. Like, now you want to go get the Italians, right? To me, I would categorize them in a lower tier of signings for Atlético Madrid, but the likes of Thiago Almada, the likes of Álex Baena, you're very robust. Hanchko, we haven't mentioned Hanchko. Yeah. We forgot to mention him in the Feyenoord segment. That is a pillar defensively for Feyenoord that you're adding to Atlético Madrid, whose base is defense and organization. He's a very good center back.
And we didn't really see some of that organization late, as you mentioned, with Simeone. We're so accustomed to them defensively being a prowess, but that March, I cannot stop thinking about March for Atlético Madrid because they were right there in the La Liga race. They're right there, Copa del Rey, right there at Champions League. They lose to Real Madrid in the Champions League. They lose at Getafe. They lose to home at Barcelona in that 4-2 game when they were up 2-0 in the 70th minute. And
they
all
crumbled.
Of a sudden, they collapsed. That whole month they collapsed. They lost Champions League. They lost Copa del Rey to Barcelona.
The
season was over in March, and they were right there in the hunt. And a team that you expect with fortitude, showing grit and showing the tenacity that they have, showing the fight and determination, they got punched in the mouth and they couldn't get back off the canvas.
The difference was a double touch on a penalty kick from Julián Alvarez, right? A rule that ended up changing. Like, the margins were so thin for Atlético Madrid, and we are going into that month of March saying that it was going to be definitive. It could have defined the season, and it ended up defining the season. And it's such a shame for a team like Atlético Madrid that was in the title fight. But if there's any manager that's able to reinvent and refresh a message psychologically towards a group, it's Cholo Simeone, because this club has experienced heartbreak after heartbreak with a couple of trophies sprinkled in here and there, but he's had to keep that message fresh. When you've come so close, how do you motivate a group of players when it feels like they just are this close to reaching the summit of Mount Olympus and get pulled back to tell them, guys, let's go again? Cholo Simeone has constantly shown that he can do that, but it feels like at one point you need to deliver the trophy.
You got to, man.
It's very difficult, and he brings in fresh faces, hoping to kind of reinvent things or at least just find some type of more strength in different places. And we've talked about the fresh faces, but Pablo Barrios is a guy that's been with Atleti since he joined the academy in 2017. So let's talk about him, Nico, because he is the subject of our Auto Trader player spotlight. He made his first team debut in 2022, and he's played 105 games for Atleti since then, scoring 6 goals and notching 7 assists during that time. And that did help him extend his contract with Atleti until 2030. So he's going to be around with this Atlético Madrid team for a while.
Yeah, because they see a lot of future in him. A center midfielder by trade. Pablo Barrios has played consistently over last season, and he's clearly important to the makeup. So it's going to be Barrios. Next to either Coque, the captain, next to either Johnny Cardoso, which is huge for Atlético Madrid. People in Spain are very high on him. Or Conor Gallagher, I don't know if he's going to be there, or on the left, but then Baena's into the mix, right? There are enough midfielders, even if they've lost Rodrigo de Paul. And we're showing you his current market value and how that's gone up, because I don't think stats do him justice. He doesn't have that many goals, that many assists. But we saw at the Club World Cup how he can be influential. And he didn't have a bad season last season, by all accounts. It was a good season. We want to see it be not only great, but maybe even to the next level. To be that center midfielder that catches the eye of the world and be a force for Cholo Simeone.
All right, well, let's bring in another opinion into the conversation. Our CBS Sports La Liga correspondent, Phil Kitramilides. Phil, Atlético Madrid, finished third in La Liga last year. And as Nico said, they were just right there. And then at the very end, they just started to fall off and fall away from being in contention with Barca and Real Madrid. So looking ahead to this new season, what does success look like for this Atlético Madrid side?
You know what? It's difficult for Atleti because essentially they should finish third. They should finish third every season in La Liga because Real Madrid and Barcelona are such absolute monsters. They're so much bigger in every aspect to Atletico Madrid that on paper, Atleti should finish third every season. So last season was massively disappointing, but they finished third. They got to the Copa del Rey semi-final and they lost to Barcelona, and they got knocked out of the Champions League by Real Madrid. If you put it like that, honestly, it shouldn't feel as catastrophic as it did feel for a lot of Atletico Madrid fans, because there was a huge outlay, because they got to March, as you said, with a lot of hopes on 3 fronts, and then it all fell apart. I think this season they have to improve a little bit mentally. They can't let their season just fall apart after one decision that they very much disagreed with in terms of the Julián Alvarez double touch penalty, but it just fell apart then. They've reinforced, and he talked about Diego Simeone trying to go again, getting people to buy into that idea once again. Well, another way of doing that is to bring new people in as well, and to bring new blood, people who haven't necessarily experienced this before, who are hungry to prove what they've done. And he's done it again. So let's see, a massive summer of change in terms of personnel. Last season, it didn't really work. And if you look at their first 11 games last season, they only won 5 of them. And 2 of those 5 victories were injury time goals. So they were really struggling to figure out what's their best 11 at the start of the season, who needs to play where. I remember a game where Simeone played his son at left back away to Celta Vigo. He didn't know who should play where. Julián Alvarez was playing left midfield. The signings they've made this season, I think he's got a clearer idea of who plays where and how the pieces fit together in the jigsaw puzzle.
So, Phil, I know you mentioned third place is consistently where they should be at minimum, but as you mentioned, Atletico spent a lot in the last 2 summers, uncharacteristically for them to spend as much money as they have in back-to-back summers. Does this mount the pressure more for Simeone to come away with some sort of hardware to finally show the financial input and additions that they've added and the depth that they've added to actually have something to show the fan base and the club for all their efforts?
Yeah, I mean, we should just probably caveat that, the net spend is possibly lower than the headline-grabbing figure of they spent $200 million. But yeah, they've sold players as well. So the net spend is actually lower. So they've brought money in as well as spending it. But you're right, they have spent money, as they did last summer as well. And fans are expectant. You spend a lot of money. People want to see something for that money, but it's not necessarily with Atletico Madrid about the trophies, but obviously they want to see them They want to see them win stuff. They want to see them compete. And if Atletico Madrid can compete right to the end of the season, push Real Madrid and Barcelona right till the end of the season, not just fall apart, I think fans will be satisfied with that. Yes, they want to win. Don't get me wrong. I live in Madrid, and I wasn't aware of what a massive club Atletico Madrid are till I moved to Madrid, and I saw the social fan base that they have. The stadium that they have is extraordinary. It is a huge club, but it's a huge club that plays in a league with two absolute giants. So they have desires and they have expectations, but it's within the context of playing third fiddle behind Real Madrid and Barca.
Right. I think we arrive to this point every season when it starts and then when it agonizingly ends sometimes. We have this philosophical debate about Atletico Madrid in which regard we should hold them at. Should we hold them at the level of a Real Madrid and Barcelona because they're not a behemoth in Spain like that? But if you took away, we showed you that graphic and we took away the logos, you would say, oh, that team that is spending the way that they're spending should have a certain obligation to win things. Mm-hmm. But Cholo, and I love Cholo, always falls back like his crutch during a loss or throughout the season. It's compete. Obviously, you don't want to jump the gun. But at one point, competing is not enough, right? But it's Cholo, and he gets away with it. And if he loses this season and walks away this season, I guarantee you he's going to be Atletico Madrid manager next season. So, Phil, it's just like philosophically, it's strange. We want to hold them at the level of Real Madrid and Barcelona, but ultimately, as a collective, it doesn't matter how much we talk, the media in Spain talks, Marca As and Sport writes, it's never going to be at that level, you know? So it's strange.
No, it isn't. Yeah, and there's also another sort of philosophical debate. Seeing as we're being philosophical this morning, there's another philosophical debate about Atletico Madrid. It comes around every so often. Shouldn't they play a little bit better football? Shouldn't the players that they've signed, the quality that they've signed, shouldn't they be able to play a little bit better? And so maybe they start playing a little bit better, a little bit more expansive. They're not as solid defensively. Then people say, oh, well, they should revert to type. They revert to type. And people say, well, shouldn't they be playing a little bit more better football? And it goes round and round again in a vicious circle of philosophy. So, yeah, we've got that. We've got what should they aspire to? Listen, they can win a trophy this season. Atletico Madrid can win a trophy. They have the squad to do it. They have the manager to do it. They have the wherewithal to win a trophy. Be that Copa del Rey, be that pushing for La Liga. They can win La Liga. They absolutely can. But unlike Real Madrid and Barcelona, they're not obligated to win La Liga. That's the difference with them. But they are good enough. And, you know, Real Madrid are in flux. We don't know what's going on with them at the moment. Barcelona are looking very strong, but Atletico Madrid will feel, listen, if we get this right and we hit the ground running, we really weren't that far off last season for a large part of the campaign. There is a chance that we can win.